You're a good boy. I'm gonna have to stop touching you though.
Have you ever wondered how to customize an amigurumi pattern? Today we're going to walk through the steps that we took to turn a crocheted dog into a Bernese Mountain Dog.
There were a few fails that we adequately fixed, but I believe a second go around on this attempt would provide the insights that were needed to make it even more successful.
Even still, I'm pretty impressed with how this little guy turned out.
Today we're talking about the dog pattern. We'll move this guy to the side a little bit. That came out of Cuddly Crochet Plushies. We purchased this book on Amazon, and the reason I got this crochet pattern book was because I saw on Instagram somebody crocheting a Bernese Mountain Dog, and if you've been on our channel long enough, you know King is Chelsea's dog. He's frequently featured in our videos, and he is just the most lovable, big little guy.
The biggest lap dog on earth.
Yes, he's so sweet. And so I really wanted to make that Bernese Mountain Dog. And I talked a few weeks ago about my disappointment when this book came, and I paged through it and I did not see the Bernese Mountain Dog. Instead, I found Fido the dog, which is clearly not a Bernese Mountain Dog, but I had already had my heart set on making King. Chelsea had said that her little guy, her 4-year-old, who's turning 5 in just 2 days, really wanted a crochet Bernese Mountain Dog. So I'm like, okay, I'll make it. And so on the first go around, I think the thing that was challenging was that the Bernese Mountain Dog has a lot of color work. So I will go through step by step what we did to put this little guy together. So we had the pattern is Fido the dog out of Cuddly Crochet Plushies. The designer is Glory. How do you say that?
I would say Shifora.
Shofora?
That's what I would say.
Okay.
I'm probably butchering it.
She's the creator of Crafting in Glory. For sure, I know you can find her on Instagram. And I like the patterns in this book because a lot of them are standing up patterns, which we really don't have in our stash of patterns so far. So that's why I really wanted to make this guy. The yarn that we chose was the Big Twist Plush. A few weeks back, we talked about different yarn types and combining yarns, and the Big Twist Plush is plushier and just slightly bigger, and I think softer than the Bernat blanket yarn. So in this book, she recommends a smaller crochet hook with the Premier Parfait Chunky yarn, which I have a lot of, and I love it, but I wanted a bigger Mountain Dog than that. So I used the Big Twist Plush. We have a brown color and then a black and a white. And the hook size that I used for this guy was a 6.5 millimeter. And I think this project definitely would have been easier without all the color work, and without my challenge to myself was to make it look as much like King as possible. And so King doesn't have 4 legs that are the same. So the challenges started at the very beginning with having back legs that have black on the hind, and then the brownish on the front, and then the front legs have more brown all the way around. So I made 4 different legs. The back legs were different than the front legs. It was easy making the ears and the tail. They were all black because King's all black there. What I didn't know is when we started the body, I didn't know where the front of the body was and where the back of the body was. So when it came time to attach the legs, I had to make my own assumption. And what I determined was if I put the front legs in the wrong spot, that I would just crochet halfway around one more time, and then I would be starting there. So I'm like, okay, either way I'm good, because I just wasn't sure with the pattern. It didn't specify attach front legs or back legs because that's probably not a thing. I figured that that would work. Then I was reading through the pattern, and the first major amount of rows I thought was like the height. of the dog. So I made sure we had the Bernese cross right here, and then I started the bib. And I was already up to here when I realized, oh, this is going to go up significantly further. So I'm just like, okay, we'll just go with it, because King is white. He has a big bib.
Yeah.
And he's white all the way up under his mouth.
Yep.
And then he's got white around his snout. So I just carried it up all the way around up there. And then the next challenge was determining the color work on the head. So the head I had to tear out several times. It starts at the nose, and I started with the white. And if you look at a picture of King, he's got this brown here, and then all this black, but then he has the brown eyebrows too. So the first time I made the brown always starting at the same spot, and I'm like, that doesn't look right, because it kind of cascades away.
Yeah.
So I tore it out and redid that again and made it kind of taper, right?
Yeah.
But then I wasn't sure, so I was reading where the eye placement would be, and I wanted to crochet on his eyebrows. So I actually did crochet on his eyebrows. And it was tricky because the face shaping also started getting bigger here, so there are some increases. And because I was doing specific color work, the face shaping wasn't lined up with how I was running my color work.
Oh.
So I knew that could be a problem. So I decided I would do the increases in the areas where I was planning on my face being, and then just single crocheted all the rest of it. And I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
With the increases. It might have been slightly off, but I think it was pretty successful. But I did attempt to crochet the brown eyebrows above where his eyes were going to be, and that's the spot that you maybe can't tell. I end up hand stitching a whole bunch of black yarn over the top of the patches here, because they ended up being like on the top of the head instead of over where I had wanted them. And these eyebrows ended up under the ear.
Oh my gosh.
So I just sewed the ears over the top on this one and tried to put it down as much as possible. And then covered the brown with the black yarn, and then just hand stitched his little brows, which I should have done that anyway, but I didn't know. I thought it would be fine to crochet them on. I don't think I've ever done that before, where I've actually hand stitched over my crochet work to make it disappear, but it was a lot of stitching. A lot more than I thought.
It's the first time for everything.
Right. And then it was tricky attaching the head, because by the time I got the head on, it was looking way up to the sky. So when I did the white in the front, I really came out significantly on the head to pull it down more. And I maybe should have done that slightly more yet, but I think it's cute the way that it is. One other thing is that the tail was very short for that pattern, so I made the tail almost twice as long as what the pattern called for, because King has a long tail.
Yeah, he does.
And so I think the thing is, we plan to make a video about bringing your amigurumi to life, and there are people who are famous, like Jim Henson, who is a master at, or was, he's passed away, but he was a master at creating and designing puppets with personalities, and he often intentionally made things lopsided or asymmetrical because it gave them more personality. So as I'm sewing on the head and I'm seeing that, the way I built it out because of the color work, I couldn't change that. And I had the white here, and I was a little bit off center there. But I don't know any dog that isn't constantly looking around and laying down and doing, so I just thought it was fine, but it's not perfect when you look at it as a symmetrical thing. So I think it turned out really great.
He's adorable.
It was my first go, and if I were going to change anything with this Bernese Mountain Dog, I would have brought this maybe out a little bit more and in, and then made his cross, and then come up. So I would have known which rows to do that. And I actually thought about just crocheting one body so I could figure it out, but I didn't have time because his birthday's in 2 days. And we're filming this video today, and I needed to get it done. And he's still really cute.
He is really cute.
So I did like this nose. I liked this feature on the front, and I did take a couple of pictures that I'll overlay on. When you're making this giant V, sometimes it's hard to get that whole thing across. So I did make my initial stitches going up, and then I stitched some yarn across the top so that yarn would catch my stitches and I could build them up all the way across.
Yeah.
So I did think that this was really cute nose for the dog.
I was thinking the same thing. It looks like perfect, and I struggle making perfect noses.
Yeah.
So,
and King has a little freckle, and I don't know how it happened, but the way that this turned out, it looks like he's got a little freckle on his nose. So I'm like, okay, that's a win. And then the other thing is, in the pattern, it calls for either crocheting on your eyes or using safety eyes. And she demonstrates in the pattern crocheted eyes. She doesn't give you a lot of instruction on them, but I knew those eyes would not show up at all on this dog.
yeah.
So I kind of did a reverse, which I'm not sure I love. I might try something different the next time, but I sewed the eyes completely a big white spot.
Mm-hmm.
I built it up nice and big. And then I made a smaller spot with the black.
Okay.
I did try putting some brown around in the front, and it looked a little creepy. So I took that away, and it also almost looked like, you know, those sheep from that one claymation show.
Oh yeah, Shaun the Sheep.
Shaun the Sheep. He kind of looked like a Shaun the Sheep with that brown in the front. The eyes, the way that they kind of bulged. It was funny. So I'm like, nope, that's not the right thing for King. But otherwise, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I like the size. I noticed when I went back to Glory's Instagram, she actually crochets with double thread a lot.
Oh, really?
To get a larger size. And
Like she'll double the parfait chunky?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure because she didn't say exactly. I mean, the pattern book calls for the Premier Parfait Chunky.
Yep.
I'm not sure if she uses those bigger like blanket yarns and doubles them to get like a much bigger size. I think that this is probably the bigger size that she's going for, but I know she crochets with double yarn to get bigger size because she said, and she does a lot of custom orders. Okay. Also, if you look, she'll show a picture of a dog and then she makes that dog. So for people who are sellers, you know, and if you have an Etsy shop, people go to Etsy for customization. That could be something that you become known for if you make the plushie like this and get good at the pattern and figure out how to make those changes. The biggest fix for me would be to create only black on the top and crochet these eyebrows or hand sew these eyebrows on, and also to improve the color work here in the front, but it's not a deal breaker for me.
It looks really cute.
Yeah.
Looks like a fun pattern to make.
Yeah.
It's a nice, chubby, plushy, soft, cuddly. What 5-year-old wouldn't want their best friend in a plush form?
Right, exactly. We hope you like this video, and let us know if you decide to try one of the plushies from this Cuddly Crochet Plushies book. We will link to it in the description box below. It's King.
Well, it looks like a treasure.
Yeah.
You've been asking for one. Thank you.
I made it for you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Is that your new best buddy?
Oh, so sweet. Thank you, buddy.